Have you ever had someone say, "Fine. Whatever you want," in a way that made your stomach twist? Not because of what they said, but how they said it. Maybe it was your partner, folding their arms and sighing loud enough for the whole room to hear, but when you asked what's wrong, they said, "Nothing." Or maybe a coworker gave you the silent treatment all day, just because you didn't take on their work, then smiled sweetly when the boss walked in. If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining things. That's passive-aggressive behavior, and it's exhausting. It's that constant dance around people who can't be honest. Who bury their anger under fake politeness. Who punish you quietly, without ever saying a word. And here's the thing, it's not just frustrating. It's manipulative. Because when someone refuses to speak directly, but still punishes you, you start to question yourself. Did I do something wrong? Why do I feel guilty? Why am I the one trying to fix it? Let's talk about why passive-aggressive people act this way, and how you can protect your peace. See, when someone's being passive-aggressive, they're upset, but they don't want to admit it. They don't want to be the bad guy. So instead of saying, "I'm hurt," or "I'm angry," they make you feel it. It's like emotional warfare in a velvet glove. They won't shout. They won't throw things. But they'll make sure you suffer just enough, so you know they're mad. And if you call it out, they'll deny it, or flip it back on you. "I was just joking. You're too sensitive. I don't know what you're talking about." Sound familiar? This shows up in all kinds of relationships. You might hear it from a partner who says, "I guess you don't care about this family, just because you made one decision for yourself." Or from a grown child who says, "Must be nice not to worry about anyone but yourself," when you finally set a boundary. In the workplace, it can be even sneakier. Someone misses a deadline, but blames you for not reminding them. They act cold in meetings, but then say, "Oh, I thought you were in charge of that." Passive aggression is a power play. It keeps you walking on eggshells, trying to guess what's wrong, while they stay in control. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for reading someone's mind. You are allowed to ask for clarity. And you are not selfish for setting limits. People who use guilt and silence to control others often learned early on that direct communication feels unsafe, or they simply never grew out of manipulative patterns. But that's not your burden to carry. It's okay to say, "If something's wrong, let's talk about it, but I'm not going to guess." It's okay to step away when someone is being icy or sarcastic instead of honest. And it's okay to want peace, not puzzles. You've probably spent a lifetime managing other people's moods. Trying to keep the peace. Trying not to upset anyone. But now? Now it's your turn to be at peace. You don't have to decode people anymore. You get to choose honesty, clarity, and calm. Passive-aggressive behavior thrives in silence. So when you stop playing the game, when you calmly name what's happening, or stop responding to the manipulation, it loses power. You don't have to argue. You don't have to fix them. Just stay grounded in your truth. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. And you are not the problem. If someone can't speak to you with respect, if they punish you for setting a boundary, or make you feel like you're always wrong without ever explaining why, that's not a healthy relationship. That's control, dressed up as confusion. And you deserve better than that. Let's talk about what it feels like to be on the receiving end of passive aggression. It's not just annoying. It's draining. Because you're constantly second-guessing yourself. You start to wonder if you're overreacting. If maybe you're the problem for even noticing it. This kind of behavior leaves you in a fog. You sense something is off, but no one's saying anything directly. So you carry the weight of their unspoken anger. You tiptoe around it. You try to fix it. And slowly, you lose your voice. That's not by accident. Passive-aggressive people want you confused. Because if you're confused, you're easier to control. Think about it. When someone says, "I guess I'll just do it myself," instead of simply asking for help, what are they doing? They're making you feel guilty. They're avoiding honesty and using shame to get what they want. And when that happens often enough, you stop asking for what you need. You start shrinking. Apologizing. You think, maybe I am being difficult. You're not. You're just being manipulated by someone who refuses to own their feelings. And yes, this happens in every kind of relationship. Maybe your adult child says, I guess I'll just spend the holidays alone, because you made other plans. Not, I feel sad we're not spending time together. But a guilt-laced comment that makes you feel selfish. Maybe your partner sulks for hours when you say no to something, and when you ask what's wrong, they say, forget it. Doesn't matter. That's not love. That's control wrapped in silence. And in workplaces, it can look like backhanded compliments. Or people deliberately leaving you out of decisions, then saying, oh, I assumed you were too busy. They'll never confront you directly, but they'll let their resentment show, just under the surface. Why do people act this way? Some were raised in homes where expressing emotions, especially anger, was dangerous. So they learned to bury it and lash out sideways. Others just never learned healthy communication. They want to feel powerful, but don't want to risk rejection or conflict. So they send messages through sarcasm, silence, or guilt. It's like emotional Morse code, except you're not a decoder. You're a person. And you deserve clear, direct communication. So what can you do? Start by trusting your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. You don't need a dramatic outburst to justify stepping back. Subtle manipulation is still manipulation. It's okay to say, if something's wrong, I'm open to hearing it, but I won't respond to sarcasm or guilt. And then stop engaging in the dance. Don't reward the cold shoulder by chasing after them. Don't respond to snide comments with over-explaining. Stay calm. Stay clear. Stay kind, but firm. You can say things like, I'm happy to talk if you're willing to be direct. I'm not comfortable with sarcasm, can we speak openly? I'm not guessing. If there's something you need, please say it. You don't have to be harsh. You just have to not participate in the fog. And here's something important, you don't need to fix them. You can't make someone communicate in a healthy way if they're not ready. But you can choose how you respond. You can protect your peace by stepping out of the games. Let's be honest, this gets harder with people we love. Especially if it's your partner, your child, someone you've known for decades. You may feel guilty for setting a line. You may fear they'll get angry. Or pull away. But here's what's true. If someone walks away because you asked for honesty, that's not rejection. That's revelation. It reveals who they are. It shows you how safe, or unsafe, the relationship really is. You're not too old to expect respect. You're not difficult for asking someone to speak plainly. And you don't owe anyone access to your heart if they can't treat it with care. You've spent a lifetime caring for others. Now it's time to care for yourself, with the same grace, the same patience, the same love. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for what's healthy. And you are allowed to have that. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the behavior itself, it's how invisible it makes you feel. Because with passive-aggressive people, you're not being yelled at. You're not being hit. You're not being explicitly called names. But you are being dismissed. Pushed aside. Mocked. Manipulated. Guilt-tripped. And somehow, you're still expected to keep the peace. That invisibility? That quiet dismissal of your feelings? That's what wears you down over time. And if you've spent years, maybe decades, being the one to smooth things over, make excuses, not cause trouble, that takes a toll. You start to feel like a ghost in your own life. But here's the truth. You don't have to keep disappearing just to make other people comfortable. You don't have to accept being ignored, mocked, or guilt just because someone doesn't like conflict. You can name the fog. You can call it what it is. And you can make a different choice. That might look like saying less. Letting their silence be their silence, not your responsibility. Not replying to texts that bait you with sarcasm. Not fixing the mood every time someone pouts. You get to step out of that loop. You get to say, I am no longer carrying conversations you refuse to have. And yes, it might be uncomfortable at first. You might worry you're being cold. You're not. You're being clear. And clarity is the opposite of passive aggression. So if someone says, whatever, I guess I'm just too sensitive. You can say, if you're hurt, I'd like to understand, but I won't engage with sarcasm. If someone sighs loudly, slams doors, or gives the silent treatment, you can choose not to chase, explain, or apologize for something you didn't do. You are allowed to wait for mature communication. And if that never comes, you're still allowed to protect your peace. Because here's something you don't hear enough. You don't owe anyone a seat at your table just because they've always been there. If someone's presence drains your energy, confuses your heart, or makes you feel small, that's a message. You're not here to decode their hidden feelings. You're not a mind reader. And you're not selfish for wanting clarity. You are worthy of directness. You are worthy of respectful conversation. You are worthy of emotional safety. Even if you didn't grow up with that. Even if you've never demanded it before. Even if people in your life say you've changed since setting boundaries. You are still allowed to ask for more. And listen, if you're watching this and thinking, but what if they leave? What if I lose them? I get it. Loss hurts, even when what we're losing was never really safe to begin with. But peace? Peace heals. And you deserve peace. Not confusion. Connection. Not guilt. Love. Not silence wrapped in control. So if you've been walking on eggshells, if you've been tiptoeing around someone else's moods, if you've been holding your breath every time you speak, please hear this. You are not too old to stop. You are not too late to learn. You are not too broken to change. You are allowed, right now, to unlearn what hurt you. And to relearn what honors you. You've given so much to others. Now it's time to give that same patience, same empathy, same care, to you. So if this resonated with you, you're not alone. Let me know in the comments, has this been part of your journey too? I read them. I see you. If this brought you comfort, or gave you a little clarity, I'd love if you'd like or subscribe. Not just to help this channel, but to remind yourself, you matter. Your healing matters. Because here's the final truth. You don't have to understand why someone is passive-aggressive to stop accepting it. You only have to know this. You deserve honesty. You deserve kindness. And it is never too late to ask for more.